You don't need to go to space to find aliens. Just find yourself a spot of ocean and head straight down. There are sea spiders the size of dinner plates, sharks that look half mummified, and something called a giant siphonophore that's longer than a blue whale, but isn't even one animal. Oh, and let's not forget the zombie worms. But before I get into all that, hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe so we can keep making stuff like this. You ready? I'm Mike with List 25, and these are 25 of the creepiest deep-sea creatures you've never heard of. 25. The giant sea spider. The giant sea spider isn't a true spider, but try telling that to your brain should you ever go deep enough to see one creeping across the ocean floor. Sea spiders have been around for over 400 million years, which means they've been crawling around like this since before dinosaurs even existed. Their legs can stretch over a foot wide, while their bodies stay freakishly small. So small, in fact, that most of their organs are crammed into their legs. Yeah, legs with organs inside. They crawl along the abyssal plains on those slow organ stilts using a tube-like mouth to suck the juices out of soft-bodied animals like anemones and worms. And just in case you were wondering, yes, they can be found on every ocean floor, from the poles to the tropics, but are especially common in Antarctic and subantarctic waters, where they grow larger due to something called polar gigantism, which is just great, I guess. 24. The Cookiecutter Shark. Okay, right off the bat, I know that name sounds cute, but it's anything but. The Cookiecutter Shark uses its suction-like lips to latch onto whales, dolphins, and even submarines, then twists out a perfect circle of flesh with its serrated lower teeth. What's left behind is a neat little crater. It only grows to about 20 inches long, around 50 centimeters, but that doesn't stop it from targeting animals a lot bigger than itself. By day, it can hang out as deep as 11,000 feet. That is over 3,300 meters down. But by night, they rise closer to the surface. And though attacks on humans are rare, it has been known to happen. In 2009, a swimmer crossing the Alenuihaha Channel in Hawaii described the first bite as like a pinprick. 3 more bites happened in 2019 during long-distance swims in the same area, and even a 7-year-old was bitten in 2017 near Magnetic Island. 23. The Bigfin Squid. Alright, so maybe this one broke the internet for about 5 minutes in 2024, but come on, it definitely deserves a spot on this list. The Bigfin Squid's body is small. Its arms are long. Ridiculously long. Over 20 feet or about 6 meters in total. Think 3 2-meter tall men stacked on top of each other with strange elbow-like bends halfway down. It doesn't swim. It hovers. There have only been a few confirmed sightings, all caught on deep-sea cameras, and no one has ever seen one feed. No one really knows how they do, but scientists do think that they might be waving those tentacles around to catch their prey. Every time they appear, it's the same. You just see that shape hanging in the dark, not doing anything. It doesn't even have to move, and it still creeps me out. 22. The Deep-sea Lizardfish. Jelly skin, needle teeth, and cold greenish eyes that bulge out of its skull, the deep-sea lizardfish shows up between 3,000 and 8,000 feet down, stretched out on the seabed, waiting. It's not a swimmer. It's an ambush predator with a long dorsal fin, huge jaws, and teeth that flex backward to pull prey deeper with every bite. One swipe, and dinner is gone. It's so rare that when a team trawled the eastern abyss off Australia in 2017, scientists immediately recognized it, not by its behavior, but by that unmistakable long fin silhouette. They called it the most nightmarish thing they found. And that same expedition also pulled up faceless fish and predatory sponges with knives for skeletons. So... 21. Zombie worms. These worms don't go for brains. They go for bones. Specifically, whale bones that have fallen to the sea floor. Zombie worms have no mouth, no stomach, and no real interest in behaving like normal animals. The females grow root-like branches that drill into bones and dissolve them using acid. Then, with the help of symbiotic bacteria, they absorb whatever nutrients are left. They're tiny, just a few inches long. And here's the part that makes people squirm. The males live inside the females. Dozens of them, microscopic in size, packed inside her body. The female does all the eating and the heavy lifting. The males just exist to fertilize eggs from the inside. If there's a creepier way to recycle a skeleton, I don't want to know. 20. The giant phantom jelly. It's longer than a bus and has ribbons. 33 feet of them. The giant phantom jelly looks more like a haunted parachute than predator, but it absolutely is one. Its massive bell-shaped body can stretch nearly 3 feet wide, and in place of tentacles, it trails those long, frilly oral arms to trap and entangle its prey. Scientists think it feeds on plankton and small fish, sweeping them up as it drifts through the water. It's only been seen alive a few dozen times since it was first discovered in 1910, which makes it one of the rarest large jellyfish on the planet. 19. Snipe eels. A snipe eel's mouth is so long, thin, and upturned that it physically can't close it, which means its jaws stay permanently open, curving away from each other with tiny hooked teeth along the edges. They're long, too, up to 6 feet or 2 meters, but their body stays roughly finger width wide the whole way down. One species, the slender snipe eel, actually holds the record for the most vertebrae of any animal. Over 750. I mean, can you even imagine? They also have the added distinct displeasure of having a digestive tract that loops upward toward the throat, with their anus sitting closer to the head than the tail. So yeah, it swims like a ribbon, eats like a trap, and digests things backwards. 18. The Bloodybelly comb jelly. Have you ever heard of adaptive camouflage? Well, the Bloodybelly comb jelly's stomach is blood red for a reason. This deep-sea creature eats glowing prey, things like tiny bioluminescent plankton, and that red belly hides the light so it doesn't give away its position. Red wavelengths disappear quickly underwater, so down in the dark, red is basically invisible. It's not a true jellyfish, by the way. It's a comb jelly, and it doesn't sting or bite. Instead, it uses sticky cells to catch prey, then floats around with its rainbow-colored cilia pulsing down its sides like disco lights. They usually stay under 6 inches long and live deep in the Pacific, especially off California and Japan. 17. The black swallower. This fish is the poster child for portion control. It's about 25 centimeters or 10 inches long, but it's got a stomach and mouth built for legends. Thanks to a stretchy gut and a jaw that can swing open wide, it can swallow prey more than double its own length and up to 10 times its weight. Sometimes it eats so much that it can't digest it fast enough. The meal then starts to decompose, gases build up, and the fish becomes buoyant. In that vein, it is 100% true that the majority of our knowledge comes from these bloated floaters, not live encounters. One 19-centimeter specimen actually surfaced with a snake mackerel 86 centimeters long inside it. That is nearly 5 times the swallower's own length. 16. The Hoff crab. I know, this one doesn't look like it belongs on the list, but the name should tip you off that all is not as it seems. These crabs live on hydrothermal vents in the Southern Ocean, huddling together in piles that can number in the hundreds. So why the name? Well, their undersides are covered in thick, hair-like bristles that look like David Hasselhoff's famously hairy chest. The scientists who discovered them in 2010 couldn't resist calling them Hoff crabs, and it stuck. As for the crab, it's not just about aesthetics. Those bristles actually grow bacteria, which the crab farms for food. They wave their hairy chests in the vent's warm, mineral-rich water, letting the microbes thrive, then scrape them off to eat. Yum. Yum. 15. The sea angel. Sea angels fit their name in looks only. They are beautiful, small, clear-bodied creatures with fluttering fins that let them glide through the water. Most are under an inch long, and yet, despite the name, they are vicious predators. Their go-to meal? Sea butterflies. Tiny shelled snails that do not stand a chance. When a sea angel finds one, it latches on, rips the shell open, and scoops out the soft body inside using sharp hook-like mouth parts. They're also hermaphrodites, which means every sea angel has both male and female parts. When it's time to mate, 2 of them line up side by side, attached to each other, and spin through the water for hours while swapping genetic material. Graceful, yes, but all in all, more like ballet dancers with a thing for snail guts. 14. The Mariana Snailfish. If there was ever an animal that proves size and wariness don't equal survival, it's this one. This pale tadpole-like fish lives near the absolute bottom of the ocean, between 6,198 and 8,076 meters deep, which is about 20,300 and 26,500 feet, making it the deepest living fish ever recorded on the sea floor. And weirdly, it might be the top predator down near the Mariana Trench. But the word predator might be a bit of a stretch. Scientists have found their stomachs packed with arthropods caught by baited traps, which suggests these fish just eat whatever comes their way. What's crazy is how they even managed to survive down there. No swim bladder to implode, just a jelly-like body, soft bones, flexible proteins, and pressure-proof genes holding it all together. 13. The pink see-through Fantasia. Quick question. Between this one and the sea angel, which would you say is the prettiest? I mean, they're gorgeous. They're called everything from swimming sea cucumber to headless chicken monster. Yeah, scientists rock sometimes. And while that second name is a little rude, it's not totally wrong. You can literally see its organs glowing inside, especially after it eats, when the digestive tract lights up pink and red. Almost like the Bloodybelly comb jelly. Really fun to say. Unlike most sea cucumbers, which crawl, this one swims. It has wide paddle-shaped fins that help it lift off the sea floor and float 1,000 feet or more into open water. And if it feels threatened, it glows. The whole body lights up, and if something grabs it, it sheds part of its skin like a flare, leaving the glowing tissue behind while it floats away. 12. The ghost shark. They've been called rabbitfish, ratfish, and ghost sharks. I think what they look like depends on your mood. These deep-sea chimeras have big bulging eyes and faces that's a cross between a shark and a dead-eyed bunny. They've been around longer than dinosaurs, and they haven't changed much. They're usually found along continental slopes in cold, lightless oceans, often hundreds to thousands of meters down. But the odd one has been spotted hunting as shallow as 15 meters at night near mussel farms. Instead of teeth, they've got bony plates for crushing shellfish. And instead of jaws, they use electroreception to detect heartbeats in the dark. Its spine is also packed with venom, likely to keep deep-sea predators from getting too close. 11. The squid worm. Is it a squid? Is it a worm? The aptly named squid worm is a marine worm with 10 long appendages on its head that look like tentacles. Found swaying in the aerobic zone just above the seafloor of the Celebes Sea, that's in Southeast Asia by the way, this tiny worm, around 9 centimeters long and 1 centimeter wide, also has 6 more feathery noses to smell its way through the dark. Each of those appendages is about the same length as its body, or even longer. Its body is so transparent that you can see every twitch of its gut from the outside. And those paddle-shaped bristles down its sides? Not for crawling, they're built for swimming. This worm drifts along with the marine snow and just gobbles up whatever organic detritus flows past. 10. The frilled shark. Sharks have been around a while, but this one makes the rest of them look like new models. The frilled shark comes with the original packaging, an eel-like body, 6 ruffled pairs of gill slits, and a mouthful of trident-shaped teeth that stay exposed even when it's closed. It usually lurks between 600 and 1,000 meters, or around 2,000 to 3,300 feet deep, though some have turned up at depths of over 1,500 meters, or nearly 5,000 feet. It doesn't swim like a shark either. It moves like a snake. When it hunts, it lunges forward and swallows its prey whole, then sheds it from the inside out with around 300 backward-facing teeth arranged in 25 neat rows. Most of what we know comes from dead specimens or footage caught by deep-sea subs. It's so rarely seen alive that some researchers have called it the closest thing we have to a sea serpent. 9. The Deepsteria jellyfish. It floats like a sheet and moves like it's underwater origami. Deepsteria jellyfish don't pulse like typical jellies. They drift silently with a soft balloon-like body that stretches and folds in on itself like some giant gelatinous bell that can wrap itself around prey like a collapsing bag. Once it's sealed, there's no getting out. They're almost never seen. Most sightings come from deep-sea ROVs and research subs, and every video looks a little bit different because this jelly doesn't keep its shape. They've also been seen with little crustacean passengers lurking inside, Nobody's really sure if the isopods are feeding off scraps or off the jelly itself. Let's hope it's the former. 8. The Brier Shark. The Brier Shark is long and lean, with a sharp beak-like snout and pale green eyes that look like they've seen things we were never meant to. Their bodies are soft and grayish-brown, almost deflated looking, which, all things considered, makes them look more like a ghost than a predator. That's part of the charm, and the creep factor. They don't show up often. The majority of what we know comes from accidental catches near continental slopes, and they're found in oceans all over the world. Their maximum size is about 4 feet long. They give birth to live young up to a dozen at a time, but almost nothing else is confirmed about their reproduction or behavior. 7. The giant siphonophore. This isn't a jellyfish. It's a drifting galaxy of tiny animals all linked together, each one with a specific job. Every part of a siphonophore is technically its own creature. One pumps, another stings, others handle digestion or reproduction, but they're all fused into a single flowing body. Some siphonophores stretch longer than a blue whale. In fact, one spotted off Western Australia in 2020 was over 150 feet long and might be the longest animal ever recorded. They can usually be found between 700 and 1,000 meters, or 2,300 to 3,300 feet deep, glowing faintly in blue or green to lure their prey. When they hunt, they coil into a slow spiral and hang a curtain of stingers in the dark. Anything that touches it gets paralyzed immediately. 6. The Harp Sponge. Sponges are usually passive filter feeders, but the harp sponge has turned to the dark side of predation. It was discovered over 10,000 feet deep off the coast of California and likes to anchor itself to soft seafloor with root-like holdfasts, growing upright branches that look like a lyre or candelabra. Those branches are covered in tiny Velcro-like hooks that snag any crustaceans drifting by in the current. Once a copepod or amphipod is stuck, the sponge wraps it in a thin membrane and slowly digests it over several days. And as for reproduction, it gets clever. The swollen blobs at the end of its branches release their packets of sperm, which float downstream in the current until they, hopefully, reach another harp sponge. 5. The supergiant amphipod. You'd expect a shrimp the size of your forearm to be rare. The supergiant amphipod is the largest amphipod ever recorded, reaching up to 13 inches long. That is huge for a creature most people associate with fish food. For years, scientists thought these monster prawns were ultra-rare oddballs that only showed up in deep-sea traps once in a blue moon. But new DNA research from the Atlantic, Pacific, and Indian Oceans has shown that all these animals aren't just related, they're genetically identical. Which means this isn't a bunch of similar giants. It is one species that somehow managed to spread across an area covering 59% of the sea floor, between 12,700 and 29,300 feet down. 4. The stoplight loosejaw. As I mentioned earlier, red doesn't travel well underwater, which is exactly why this fish uses it. The stoplight loosejaw produces its own deep red beam from a patch below each eye, like tiny headlights. Anything swimming nearby gets lit up in that light, but has no idea it's being watched. That trick gives it a serious edge, especially since it's one of the only fish down there that can actually see red. The most amazing part is that it doesn't produce the pigment it uses to make that light. It gets it from its food. Researchers believe it absorbs special light-sensitive compounds from the plankton it eats, then reuses them to boost its own vision. Add to that a bottom jaw that unhinges like a trap and a skull built like a pair of scissors, and it becomes one of nature's most perfect ambush systems. 3. The tripod fish. Ever see a fish that stands on stilts? This one does. And I do mean that literally. The tripod fish pushes its body above the seafloor on 3 bony fin rays, 1 from its tail and 2 from its pelvic fins, forming its signature tripod posture. By perching facing the current, it waits for prey to drift into range. Its raised pectoral fins work like antennae, sensing any vibrations in the dark. When something brushes those fins, the tripod fish lunges and scoops it into its mouth. The fins stay rigid enough to stand on. Researchers think fluids are pumped in to stiffen them, and then go limp when they need to swim again. 2. The barrel eye fish. There's weird, and then there's my head is see-through weird. If you're into deep sea news, you've probably seen pictures of the barrel-eye fish before. If you look at it quickly from the side, it almost looks like it's got a little tree growing inside its head. However, you're actually seeing its brain and two tubular green eyes. Most of the time, those eyes point straight up, scanning for the silhouettes of prey above. But when it's ready to strike, they pivot forward, looking in without the rest of its body even moving. Oh, and those little dots above its mouth that look like eyes? Yeah, they're not. They're called nares, and they work like nostrils, helping the fish detect chemicals in the water. Basically, its version of smelling. If this is your first time seeing it, you are not going to forget it. There's something about a fish that stares through the top of its own head that kind of sticks with you. 1. The Pompeii worm. Meet the worm that laughs at boiling water. I know, it doesn't look like much, does it? These tiny animals cling to hydrothermal vent chimneys in the Pacific in water near 105 degrees Celsius or 221 Fahrenheit, and somehow they survive. They're draped in what looks like wool, but it's actually a fleece of bacteria that acts like a thermal coat, redistributing the heat from their tails, planted in the boiling waters, to their heads, sticking out into the colder currents. Without that microbial armor, the worm itself can handle a cooler maximum of about 55 Celsius, or 131 degrees Fahrenheit. Only about 6 inches long, they build paper-thin tubes right into the vent surface and swish their bright red gills into the cooler water for oxygen. Fancy science note, those bacteria aren't just insulation. They also help to detoxify minerals and even feed the worm through something called chemosynthesis. They're extremophiles through and through, and just creepy enough to bring today's list to a close. And that's a wrap. But let's test your memory real quick. What makes the bloodbelly comb jelly, still really fun to say, so creepy? Is it because it A, uses optical displacement, B, glows when it's scared, C, gives off bioluminescent signaling, or D, loves adaptive camouflage? Drop your answers in the comments below, and also while you're there, let me know which creature spooked you the most. And if you enjoyed today's list, well, you'll love our related video, 25 strange new species scientists recently discovered. It has a bug which looks like Darth Vader, a predator shaped like a bear, and a massive snake that researchers almost missed completely. The link to that video will pop up right over here. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. I'm gonna go for a swim.